What's up, nerds? Welcome back. It's been almost a week since I've put out any videos or done anything besides be on other people's streams, so I'm going to stop leaving you in suspense because today we're just going to go ahead and jump right into talking about Gunslinger Spawn number 4. So if you remember from my review video of issue number 3, at the end of that issue we were left with Gunslinger Spawn in a rather tight situation where he was being beset upon by a very nicely dressed woman and her magic dinosaurs, whatever the hell they are. And that's actually where we're picking up because if you remember on the very last page, all of a sudden there was just this sea, this army, this herd. How many more words can I think of to describe a group? A group of violators, clowns, which is exactly where we're starting out here. Him facing down said group. Is there a term for, it's not important. I was gonna say, is there a term for a group of clowns? Like how a bunch of crows is called a murder or whatever, but it's not important. A circus of clowns. See, I didn't even have to Google it. Anyway, so we're picking up there. And Clown is here telling him, like, get up on your feet because he needs to make him an offer that he's not going to want to refuse or whatever. He's basically saying, you're going to be my partner. And so it says Al Simmons has collided with this hellish villain dozens of times, but for Gunslinger, this will be his first encounter. So he's just like, oh, okay, is that so? Now, one thing I want to note here before we go any further, if you will notice, this book, the art, it's still Brett Booth on main pencils, but the inkers and the colorists have added, a lot more people. So that is one thing. When I was reading this, I was like, I don't know what it is, but I like the way that this looks more. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's what it is. They changed up like coloring. They have like two people on it now. There's a whole team of people inking this shit. So I was like, you know what? It looks good. I like it. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, he's still here trying to tell him, like, we're here to make you an offer and all that shit. He says, you know how many men I've seen walk away from their better interests? But you strike me as being smarter than that. So he's like, and what is it that you think that I need? So he's basically saying the same thing that every spawn wants, to be able to return. So he's like, to where? He's like, you're home, dumbass. So he's telling him, like, I can basically help you with that. And she's back here saying, like, he's mine. Like, you sent me here to take care of him. That's what I'm here to do. And he basically tells him, shut the hell up. Like, you're not doing it right. You're not cut out for this. You just need to pack up and leave. And then to really sell that point home, I don't know if he does something magically to the dinosaurs or if it's because he's holding her by the throat. But we see that they start glowing, and then the actual violator is back there, picks one of them up, and then he basically just like throws her as like, yeah, get the hell out of here, because obviously he can harm her in some way, and definitely a way that Gunslinger Spawn couldn't. So she's even asking him, like, if you were going to take over, why'd you send me then? He's like, well, because I thought you were ready, but obviously you're not. So he's like, now leave me alone, come back when you're ready to listen. And then she just gives him a good old fuck you and just like takes off running. She gets in the truck and they just, hightail it on out of there. Anyway, so he's saying, you gotta love her spirit, don't you think? And he's like, now where were we? That's right, you and I were about to take over the world, or something like that. So Gunslinger responds to him, like, you're being coy, big man, just spit it out. I'm starting to lose my patience. He's like, alright, yeah, you're right. But first, he has like one of his minions go and get like the little hat, or one of the mini clowns, I guess, go and get his hat. And then he says, you must excuse my pets, they're not properly house trained yet. And he's like telling him, I'll take my hat back. To which he says, in due time, but let me introduce my loyal companion, the Violator. He and I go way back, so if you're thinking I don't have ample protection, you'd be wrong. And I have to agree with him. If I saw this thing standing behind him, I'd be like, okay, let's talk. You know what I mean? We don't need to do anything violent. Let's just go ahead and talk. Anyway, so he's saying, like, I said, I'll take my hat, and then he throws one of the little clowns, like, directly at the Violator's face, which I did find kind of hilarious because of the way that he just kind of, like, Anyway, so he uses that opportunity, that momentary distraction, to like leap at him with the knife, and not at Clown. He actually leaps at Violator, and he's basically, it's what the captions here are saying is he understands, like, with him being surrounded, he doesn't really serve the best chance of actually walking out of this. His best bet is to try and attack the big guy, prison rules. He attacks the big guy, and he's like, if I can make him bleed, that might scare everybody else and they might all take off. But unfortunately, he kind of slightly underestimates the threat, as you can see, because he just throws him off of his back and starts pounding the shit out of him. And it even says that, like, his beating lasts several more minutes. So eventually the clown is like, enough, I think he gets the point. So he's telling him again, get up on your feet. I'm not going to ask again. He's like, I'll get up when I'm ready. Got that, fat man? And he's like, as you wish, but let's be clear about something. I'm the alpha here, so stop barking. You're beginning to upset the other dogs. Because we can see where they're all just kind of champing at the bit. They're ready to, like, sink their teeth into him, which they will get the opportunity in a little bit. Anyway, he says, I'd hate to have to unleash them, to which Spawn says, right. Why do your own fighting when you can cower behind others? I'd do the same if I was afraid. So that's where he's like, Clown carefully weighs his next move, knowing Gunslinger is of immense value, but insubordination he won't tolerate, not from someone he considers inferior. A quick lesson must be taught, so apparently all he does is whisper the word go, and they just, like, swarm the shit out of Spawn. And it says they're basically like a pack of hyenas. They're very feral and violent. And like I said, they're sinking their teeth into him, biting the shit out of him with those very sharp little teeth. Anyway, so they're doing that. It says, yeah, they swarm like a pack of hyenas, far more animalistic than he could have imagined. And then again, Clown tells him, like, all right, yeah, leave him alone. And then when they're done with him, they go and they pick him up, and the hat, of course, and they take him over to Clown, kind of offering him up. And so he wakes up in a much more precarious situation. Well, I say precarious for him. For any of us, it would just be death. Anyway, so he wakes up and he's been hung because basically Clown was like, yeah, he just needs, some time to think. He needs the right motivation and some nice fresh air in his face. So that's why they hung him up by a noose. Like I said, to any one of us, we would probably not wake up from that. But because he's a Spawn, he has a little bit longer of a chance. So he wakes up. He is choking. Let's make that clear. He is choking. It's not like this isn't doing anything to him. He is slowly dying. It's just, if it were any one of us, we'd probably die faster. So he wakes up and he tells them, I want to commend you on your cute trick, basically with the hat. He's like, say, hiding weapons in your hat. I can't pry them off. Appears you were clever enough to fuse them with your symbiote, so you're the only one that can remove them. Just like your bullet belts. Those won't budge either. And I wonder what happened to my bullet belt. I have one around here. They aren't real bullets. It's kind of like the old, 80s, heavy metal thing. I have one around here. And I don't know where it is. I need to find it. I need to wear that thing again. Well, I live in Texas, so I can absolutely get away with wearing one of those. Anyway, so he's saying, so you may as well look good while you're hanging there. And he basically uses his magic to float the hat back onto his head. And he's like, oh, don't be so surprised. What, you thought you were the only one with, necromantic powers? Or what is it he calls it? Yeah, necro powers. So he says, and you know who gave those powers to me? And he tells him it was Spawn, like Al Simmons. Basically, after, what happened with him, closing the dead zones and all that shit. Basically, the reason why Gunslinger Spawn is here. He's describing how when he did what he did, he thought that he was getting rid of Clown, but that it actually achieved the opposite. He says, as I was being shot into the time rip, his explosion created, everyone else was heading the other direction, including you. And I made sure I scraped a little power off anyone that passed by. Do you know how much power that is when combined? And he says basically it was enough for him to split himself into two. So instead of having to choose between, attacking as either Clown or Violator, now he can literally attack as Clown and Violator. So this is where he continues telling him, your best chance of survival is to not even be here. Not in this time frame. You can't do that without me, and I can't get what I want without you, because the rip in time is only going one direction, bringing people here. No one is able to go the other way because the dead zones are locked. The only one with the key is Spawn, and your mortal enemy Coulrophobia, he wants that key too. So ask yourself, do you think for 1 second that if Cog gets his hands on it first, he'll offer you the same deal I am? He'd sooner cut his own throat. You'll never get back home or see anyone you've ever cared for. Spawn can't do it, and Cog or anyone else doesn't give a shit about you or your wants. I don't care about it either, but even if you only have one reason to go home, I'm your best hope. And this is where he kind of has a flashback to his beloved, who is named Amy, as you can see by the name carved onto the handle of the blade. So he's basically trying to give him, that little sweetening of the pot, just a little incentive, like, hey, you know that there has to be someone who actually cares about you coming home. He says, like it or not, we're stuck with each other. So, Hellspawn, what's it going to be? Surely someone wishes you were back. And then he's telling him, like, he's still kind of refusing. He's like, I can't. He's like, well, yeah, sure you can, but you can't do it if you're dead. So he shoots the damn rope that's holding him and lets him down. He's like, yeah, but I do need you to actually be alive for my plans to actually come about. So he says, besides, your job is easy. Get close to Spawn, and when the time comes, you stab him in the back. And that's actually where this leaves off at the moment. And that should be pretty interesting to see how that's going to play out, because I didn't do a review for the latest issue of King Spawn, but I did read it. And I mean, Gunslinger has been acting kind of weird with the other spawns. Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, he's been acting weird with the rest of the team, and it seems like maybe this might be part of the reason. I don't know if he's actually going to take Clown up on his offer, but I get the feeling it'll probably be one of those situations where he's going to pretend to be working with Clown, and then at the last minute, he'll do something to kind of, I don't know, help Spawn out. That's kind of what usually happens in these kind of scenarios. Of course, there could very well be that chance that he just says, you know what, now fuck it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do what I want. Try and get back to my own time because that's the only thing he cares about. Could go either way. I honestly don't know. So we'll see. But like I said, overall, I do like this change. I don't know if this is going to be a permanent change in the way that the art is done. I just feel like this coloring that they're doing here with this, it fits the book and the tone so much better. So I will give them props for that. Like the definitely the art has improved here just with that coloring, because like I said, it's still Brett Booth, so I mean that hasn't changed. The ink, I mean the pencils are still the same, and then now there's just a whole team of people doing the inking, and then the coloring for me is what really just, I don't know, it set a whole different tone from what I've been reading before. Not that there was any problem with what came before, it's just I like it so much better here. There's just something else to it. I don't know. I'm not a colorist, so I couldn't exactly tell you what it is, but I am a reader and appreciator of art, and that I can absolutely tell you about. So I think that's about all I can say here on Gunslinger Spawn number 4. We're going to see where this continues to go. I really do like this character. I'm not going to lie. I do. I mean, slightly more than regular Spawn, and I think that might only be... It's not because of the hat. I don't like the tall hat. It's kind of weird. But slightly more because I guess he's Southern, and apparently he's Latino. His name is Javi, so I mean, yeah, he's Latino, and the time that we've seen him, yeah, he has like brownish skin. He has an olive complexion, is what it would be more called. So I don't know. Maybe it's those things. I don't think so though. I just like everything about him. He has like the right kind of attitude. The costume is really cool, like the gloves and everything. Like I said, the hat I could take or leave, but then just the different weapons, the damn revolver, the stupid knives that he has just like literally everywhere. Sometimes it feels like he's just pulling them out of his ass at this point. I don't even know. But yeah, all of it I just like much more. And I think I like the boots too, which is weird. I don't normally like cowboy boots. I've never owned any in my life. Yes, it's not like a requirement in Texas. Just to go into total non sequitur, there are people who literally assume that like everybody in Texas owns like cowboy boots and we've all ridden horses at some point in our lives. Like, no, we're just like everywhere else. I don't know why people need to actually hear that, but if you are one of those people who assumes everybody in Texas has cowboy boots, wears cowboy hats, that we've all ridden horses and shit like that, that is not the case. I have never been I've been around horses. I've never been on a horse. I've never owned cowboy boots, and you will never see me wear a cowboy hat. There's no wood for me to knock on because I'm like, you know what? I might end up being one of those old men. I don't know. But as of right now, I'm telling you, you're never going to see me wearing a cowboy hat. It's just not going to happen. I'm not that type of person. So I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening with this, just to completely end that. We'll see what ends up happening with this particular book going forward. I don't know if anybody out there is reading this, if you're continuing along with it, or as I always say, if you're just continuing along with my videos talking about it, that's fine too. Share your thoughts with me down below in the comment section, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed and you got the notification bell hit. You know, the total disclaimer that I always give you, and the one thing that I always ask, if you would like to share the video, you know I would appreciate that. You know how much I do appreciate you for doing so. So Just give that a thought. Just let it marinate in there for a little bit. Think about it. Maybe you might want to feel like you get some sort of satisfaction out of making me smile. So, I think that's going to do it for me here. So, if you are done here, then go and read a book, possibly this one if it's your type of thing. If not, then I'll see you on my next video.